Greetings, various people across grand spectrums of time and the multiverse. My name is Alexander Gordon Johans. Now, you'll be noticing something. First, drop in quality and return to the 4x3 format. And see, I'm not even sure it's a return, but yes, we are now in the 4x3 format. And the lack of intro, and that's the return of the curtains. So basically, what happened is that I need testosterone injections, right? That's a thing that's been happening for a while, and I need them. So it was planned out in advance. Got the money together. I was gonna go down, get the train. It's going to be a 2-hour journey by train, and then I was going to get the injection and have a 2-hour journey back. The thing about transport, though, is that it all depends on the 30 minutes and the hours and like everything depends. Everything happens at the exact same instance, and it's not staggered by like 5 or 15 minutes. It's all basically at the hour or the half hour. So you think, oh well, this is simple. I'll work this out, and then a delay happens. A delay happens because you've not actually walked to the train station before, so it takes you time to get there. A delay happens because for some reason the ticket machine only prints the return part, not the outward part of the ticket, and you don't realise that until you're on the train. So then you're stuck in London Marylebone Station, freaking the fuck out until finally you were let out, and because you're kind of nervous about things, you don't want to be like, you don't want to have to explain to someone why you're an idiot and how the return ticket, so you start walking, and you're like, I'll just get to Waterloo. Just once I'm at Waterloo, I'll be able to get a bus to Woking, a train to Woking, and it'll only be 30 minutes. Except there's no map saying where Waterloo is, so eventually you give up and you just find a train station, you just find an underground station, and you just buy a £15 ticket to Woking via the underground. And as you're on it, you realise you're basically wasting time, as you've spent a lot of time walking in order to get farther away from where you were, because Marylebone Station is actually 2 or 3 stops ahead of where you had walked to. So that wastes time until you now end up catching the 3 o'clock train to Woking, and it takes 30 minutes to get there, so it's the 3:30 train to Woking, yeah. So you know as you're on it that you're gonna miss it. Plus it's gonna be 15 minutes for the bus. Plus the bus only takes cash. So you're gonna have so the appointment that's at 3:50 that you'll miss by 10 minutes just in terms of arriving. You're then going to have to spend 5 minutes drawing the cash out, then you're going to have to wait for the bus, then you're going to have to get the bus, and then you're going to have to go home. It has not been a good day. It has not been a pleasant day, and fortunately I managed to get it the testosterone injection rescheduled for tomorrow, so it's going to happen because I need it. But it's it's difficult. And of course, the first thing that happened is universal credit. Universal credit came back because, of course, I'm now home. I'm now back in the family home. So what do I get greeted with? Where's the hey, how nice to see you? Hey, how was your time? It's nope. It's just so money. Money. See, the thing is, right, that throughout the entirety of my time, when I was, throughout the last year, the year of hell, when I was feeling depressed and suicidal, my parents were begging and pleading for me to try job seekers or universal credit as it is now. Just go on better, just try, just please try. We'll always support you. We'll always support you. And then I went on it. And I realised I couldn't do it because 35 hours a week, there is no guidance, there is no, you must meet this criteria. It is just that you must be very efficiently, hyper efficiently, be looking for work for 35 hours a week. Essentially, what this is an almost fractal level problem. In that the harder I look at looking for a job, the less time it takes to look for a job, and thus the more things I need to do to look for a job, and so it breaks my brain. This is not something that I can compute, right? The only way that I can compute this is if I play against the system, and I don't like doing that. You know, even if it's a system run by the Tories, even if it's a system run by people that I hate and despise, I can't do that. I like to abide by the law, by the sentiment of rules. And so, I can't do this. I've hit a brick wall, I just can't. But money though. You gotta know, man. It's gotta be. Because of money. You got money, you gotta do it. Because if you don't, you're fucked. And I know I'm fucked. I know that. I am well aware that I am fucked. And oh look. That's the dagger. The dagger that haunted me throughout the last year. And I'm back with it. Yay! I mean, it's not gonna be that bad, but like I did have essentially my after the insistence that I go on it, I reached this brick wall, and then my parents were just like, excellent. Well, you're 24 now, so you can sort this out yourself, and good luck, because if you don't. We've decided that since you can do this, since we've decided that since there is a way that you can get money for food, we're not gonna support you. So all that screaming, all that pleading, all of that was just set aside with nothing. With them just saying, ha 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 ha, you went on benefits, fuck you, we're cutting ties. I mean, fortunately, I was with my boyfriend, and my boyfriend's mother, you know, she's used to dealing with some. Well, my boyfriend is very, very autistic, and so she's just she has the time, and money, and the inclination to just say, no, I'm not letting you stuff. I don't necessarily know and understand what's going on, but I'm not going to let you starve. And indeed, she's been feeding me far better than my family had. Or had been giving me the money to feed myself. She's so I was okay. I was eating okay, and so then the idea of being back in Woking, being back here was my parents being confronted with the whole universal credit situation after a 2-hour journey. That was not fun. That was scary. That was not great. But fortunately, I think I hope that they now understand that I have hit a brick wall with this. Like, you know, if I just, my brain can't do this. Right, as far as my understanding of this is that basically there is universal credit, which my brain can't do, and then there is personal independence payment, which I don't think I'm eligible for because my brain is too good. Basically, right, I'm just fucked. I'm just fucked. That's my understanding of the situation, and I don't have a solution. My solution is you guys. You know, it's hope for Jeremy Corbyn, you know, as sort of plan B, but plan A is you guys. Because basically, have you seen politics? We've got Theresa May as Prime Minister now. We've got a female Prime Minister again, and an unelected female Prime Minister who thinks that human rights should be abolished, who hates the internet. Yay feminism, yay feminism. I mean, I'm sure it's entirely a coincidence, but yay, and look who's opposing Jeremy Corbyn, Angela Eagle, the fucking Blairite, but dang, she's a woman. When the fuck did demographics become part of politics? When the fuck did policies matter less than what fucking than what fucking identity someone has, than what fucking, you know, sexual organs they have, or that they would like to have, or that they feel they should have? At what point did policy become subservient to gender of a prime ministerial candidate? Because I don't actually give a shit what gender, race, creed, colour, whatever is wearing the jackboot stamping upon the human face for all humanity. I mean, I'm sure that it is very aspirational for women that one day they can be the person wearing that jackboot upon the human face for all eternity. But, you know, for the rest of us, that's just a fucking jackboot. For the rest of us, that's just a person grinding us into dust, and it doesn't fucking matter what fucking demographic they belong to. They're a cunt. They're a bastard. They are the scum of the earth. And they're in charge. So fucking great. So yeah, I'm not exactly holding out hope for Corbyn at the moment, seeing as the Labour Party is destroying him. I mean, I'm fairly certain that given another 6 years or however long left we've got of the Tories, that if the right wing can be dealt with, Jeremy Corbyn will be able to walk it, because who the fuck is gonna vote for these cunts again? But then people voted for Trump, people voted for Brexit. So my hope is you. My hope is you. Patreon.com/Flushduke. I have a PayPal donation link. It's in the description. It's in the video description. Please buy games on my Steam wishlist. Please just keep me alive. I mean, I'm not scared or anything. I mean, of course I'm not scared. I mean, I can always kill myself. You know, it's not like I've got a boyfriend now or anything that I love and care for and want to be there for, and you know, it's kind of hard to be there for them when I'm, you know, subsisting off the crust of their toasts. So I don't want to be a burden on anyone. I mean, I've been looking at the views. I've been looking at the views on my videos, and I mean, I've not been uploading much, and yet, bloody hell, I'm getting like hundreds of views per video. What the fuck? Yeah. So maybe some of you out there have got, you know, $1 to spend per month on Patreon, or maybe you've got $5 a month that you can afford to spend on Patreon. I mean, I'm not worth $10 or no. I mean, the Patreon isn't anything special. I mean, there are going to be very occasionally, maybe once a year, videos on the Patreon that are unique to Patreon people. But basically, if you're donating to Patreon, it's because you want to help me stay alive, not because you're expecting, you know, superior content. I mean, apparently, you know, YouTube is now has now let me know that I could now enable paid content, which I think is ridiculous. Can you imagine me trying to do a premium version of this? I mean, I tried to do the scripted videos, and the thing is, the turnaround is just not good enough. I just can't do it quick enough. These unscripted videos are just easier, and ultimately, easier production that gets more views. There are less subscribers on the scripted video channel, and the scripted videos people don't like so much. So it's this style of production works, and I like to do it, and so far it's working. And you know, I mean, there are going to be Let's Plays, but yeah. So if you're wondering also about why different webcam, I left my desktop and my laptop with my boyfriend, because obviously I wasn't intending to be staying down here. So basically, what's happening now is that I've commandeered my mother's laptop, created a new profile for myself, and basically I've got installed on here all the programs that I use and rely upon, and I've got settings saved, and unfortunately my mother's laptop is so bad that it can't even play Minecraft. It can't even run Minecraft. Right? It's Intel Celeron inside. It's a Toshiba Satellite Pro. So I mean, I've got Focuswriter installed. I've got iTunes. I've got Google Chrome, and with you know the Facebook and YouTube and the TweetDeck and stuff. But this is basic stuff, and it's, you know, an old webcam, and this isn't ideal conditions, but I'm staying saner than I might otherwise be, because obviously I was meant to be back home, you know, with my testosterone sorted out, beside my lovely boyfriend, with my computers, and we were going to be watching documentaries about history together. And now I'm going to be spending the night alone, and I'm going to be spending it with a computer that can't even run Minecraft. I mean, I know that Minecraft can break even the greatest of machines, but still, like, Maybe I should bring up my mother's laptop and say to my boyfriend and say, can you please make it so this can run Minecraft? No, that'll just make a worse condition, because at some point it'll be like, yeah. At some point it'll just mean that I'll come down and there'll be nothing. Because everything will be up there. But no, that's not going to happen, because apart from anything else, my boyfriend's sort of approach to computers is a bit like my approach to videos and writing, right? It's not so much that he wants to do them, it's just sort of like that he has to. It's compulsion. It's just, someone has a problem with their computer, then I must fix it. If I know how to fix it, I shall fix it. If this is my thing, I shall fix it. You know? And he actually gets annoyed that all he does is fix things, but it's just all he does. He can't help it. Oh, I love him so much, and I'm without him. Tell you what though, Ronikin, the fluffy little devil cat, certainly remembers me. I mean, because I stroked him, cuddled him, and like one of the first things he did was he went, and he started biting me. It's like, ah yes, he remembers me. You started kicking and biting and playing, and it's like, yes, this is my boy, he remembers me. Yeah, something else that I will say is, my boyfriend's family bought him fancy £700 shower units that are computer controlled. Computer controlled with a very simplistic interface. And what do we know about computers? They go wrong. They go wrong. So basically for the last 3 weeks I haven't been able to have a proper shower, and literally the last time I went to have a shower just a few days ago at my boyfriend's, like, I turned it on and then 10 seconds later, beep, 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 it dribbled away to nothing. And I was, it was not good. It was not good. Not good at all. So it has been a relief to get home. Well, it's been a relief to get to Woking and to be able to use a proper hot water shower that you can just go, I would like the hot water to be on whilst I have my shower. And then you just go in the shower and you just turn it to the temperature you want, and it stays it there for however long the hot water is on. And then when you've had your shower, you turn the water off, and then you turn the hot water off. Then everything is nice and okay. So I've had a shower and I feel so much better, and I think this is the change. This is how I know that I have grown up, right? You know, it's not the beard, it's not the boyfriend, it's not, you know, the increasing sense of independence. It's the fact that when I was a kid, I didn't give a fuck about showers or baths or anything. But now I know that I am truly an adult, because it felt so good to have a proper fucking shower again. To properly go through all of the steps of my cleaning routine again and just, oh yes, nice and smooth and clean, yes. And my hair is nice and fluffy. Christ, I'm like a bloody Android's puppy. Yes, also, I've drunk quite a few cans of Diet Coke, because, like, Coke is like, it's like, I need it. I need to be drinking it when I am dealing with something stressful, like, for example, trying to get the tech working. Because there was a weird moment when I thought I had broken my mum's mouse, as in computer mouse, and then I just wandered on a whim, restarted the computer, and it worked fine. Just Windows 10 just decides sometimes, this thing, it don't work anymore. You're not gonna have it working. So I restarted it and it said, oh, we'll have it work now. And the Wi-Fi was playing up, and so I just went outside, turned off the wireless booster, turned it back on again. Now it's working fine. And it's God, it's weird. This is, I mean, I'm almost wondering whether this is like gaslighting me, or this is like ritual superstition. You know, if this is me in a Skinner box, just as a pigeon, kind of, you know, pecking at the buttons, wondering that, you know, see, if I press them, sometimes good things happen. But it's, oh, I'm surviving. I'm surviving. And what is going to happen now is that I'm going to have a big pizza, and I'm going to listen to some podcasts. And since I can't play Minecraft, I'm probably going to play Solitaire. Because maybe my mum's computer can just about handle that. And then tomorrow I get my testosterone injection, and I get to see my very lovely and adorable and cuddly boyfriend again. And no, I'm not going to be. He's not going to be on camera, and I'm not going to be referring to any details about him, and I'm not going to say anything detailed about our sexual proclivities, but suffice it to say, he's the submissive, right? Like, that's, you know, he's an awesome at computers. We love the same things, you know. He's a massive computer nerd, a massive nerd about sci-fi, and he's adorably submissive, and he's super cool, and he's super kind and sweet, and I love him so much. And it's like, you know, people wonder, well, why don't you miss your cat? It's like, yeah, but like Anakin, my boyfriend. I value my boyfriend, you know, far more, and, you know, obviously he still doesn't know how he feels about me because he's got depression at the moment, and there's lots of shit going on in his life at the moment, but we're okay with that. And, you know, as soon as he knows, as soon as things are settled down enough for him to figure out how he feels, we'll proceed as then. But, you know, while I would clearly prefer it if we could continue being boyfriends, or I suppose properly graduated to being boyfriends, if it came to it, I would still be his friend, and, you know, maybe even, you know, continue living with him if he wanted. It's, you know, entirely basically up to him, right? Like, he's someone who does not know kind of conventional definitions, you know. I mean, I think he could, if he could be asked to learn the fuzzy logic, and if he could fight against the fear. I almost think, like, he isn't so much autistic as he is just someone with chronic social anxiety. Like, if he could just conquer the fear and actually learn about the fuzzy logic of social interactions, and learn about how people are guided by certain, you know, needs, and once you understand the needs, you can predict fairly accurately what they're going to say and what they're going to do, because, yeah, they might decide to go against what they typically want, but why would they? You know, typically they would only do that if there is an overriding thing, or they just don't know about it. So I do think that he could learn this, but the anxiety of, what if I say the wrong thing, what if I annoy someone, what if I upset someone, that's the issue. I mean, anxiety in general, I think, is a big issue. Although that could just be a function of the depression that he's got, because fuck, he's had a load of problems. I mean, basically, I just went through a year of shit, and I'm sort of coming out of it now. Although it's kind of difficult, because I've come out into a world of Brexit, and Trump, and my parents just saying, fuck you. But you know, my real world situation is kind of crap, but, you know, I have kind of come out of it, whereas he's still very much in the middle of the shit. He's still very much in the middle of depression, and things are still very much bad for him. So that's why I really want to get up there, because, as he puts it, when I'm with him, things are not as shit. and I love that. I love it's not, he doesn't say that it's good with me being there, it's just that they're not as shit, you know. They're still shit, there's still a base level of background radiation shit, but not as shit. Which is rather delightful and charming in a very weird way. I mean, I suppose you spend so long, you know, simulating how other people think, that it's quite nice to meet someone whose brain is so very, very different and very, very interesting. And he constantly says, "But I'm not a problem for you. Am I not just problems?" And it's like, no, you're not a problem. You're not problems. You're interesting. You're nice and you're kind. Also, Black Pigeon speaks. Now, the right wing seem to like this commentator, this person on the internet. So I have a sneaking suspicion that means that they are in favour of genocide or something awful. It's like anytime that my haters like someone, I'm like, okay, well, how many people have you killed? But this person has generally been leaving fairly, you know, positive and nice comments, and they did in fact post a fairly nice and interesting video on my Facebook fan page that might be a possible introduction for future videos, and it has sound which is good. So yeah, kind of have a look, and if I hadn't already referred to the fact that there is no intro, I might have decided to. Actually, no, you know what I will do. After the thank yous, after the call to action, which is scripted by the way, then I will include the video that Black Pigeon Speaks made. And I have a sneaking suspicion this may get me a copyright strike, but I suppose that's a good test of whether I could actually have it as the proper video going forward. Anyway, see you, ladies and gentlemen. Please keep giving me money, because it would be nice to not have to worry about where my next about whether I'm going to have food, and like just so you know, right, the reason that I am not going on a diet at the moment is because my parents are threatening me with starvation, right? You do not go on diets and focus on getting super cut when you could be denied food and living on bread crusts. You know, kind of, you know, really dieting is a very first world thing to do. You know, you don't diet when you might need that fat for the winter. So yeah, I'm keeping this fat in case I need it. You know, like, I know I probably won't die, but I'd rather hedge my bets in favour of, you know, being okay if starvation happens than hedging my bets in favour of looking good so I can attract chicks. You know, like I'm kind of, you know, starvation matters more than looks and girls, especially when I've got a boyfriend. You know, like, I don't need to focus on pulling anyone at the moment. So anyway, I will see you guys and various people across grand spectrums of time and multiverse later. Thank you to all my Patreons at patreon.com for helping to make videos like this possible. If you wish to leave a like or dislike to rate this video for my analytics, that would be much appreciated. Comments are always welcome, though do be aware that they will be moderated before being published, so please be civil. If you liked this video, please consider adding it to your favourites, sharing it to your friends, or subscribing. If you wish to help me out or my channels, please consider whitelisting my videos in your adblock software, subscribing for monthly donations through Patreon, or giving a small one-off donation. Alternatively, I have a Steam wishlist for games I would consider let's playing or streaming, so if you would like to see me broken before the Dark Souls altar, or just happen to have gotten a duplicate of a game in a humble bundle, then you know what to do. I also have an official Facebook fan page, Twitter account, Tumblr, Reddit and blog, so you can stay up to date with all of my videos, blog articles and the things I care about. Links are in the video description. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I think all that now needs to be said is ban all guns, institute universal basic income now, and ensure government is elected by proportional representation. Thank you. Greetings, various people across the grand spectrums of time in the multiverse. My name is Alexander Gordon Johannes, and the sunglasses of justice will not be needed today. And indeed, you will have noticed that A, we are back to widescreen. B, there is no intro. C, a different background. Basically, after being stuck at home, I am now back with my boyfriend, but essentially he's in the process of moving out of the house he had rented with his last boyfriend and moved back to his essentially the shed he's got in his the shed that he lives in by his mum's house, that's in the back of his mum's garden. So essentially the desk that I was recording on with the light setup that required me to use the sunglasses of justice was taken down. So today I am recording from the kitchen atop my laptop with the webcam actually resting atop my sadly disconnected desktop PC. And that is why I do not have the intro, because the intro is on the desktop PC and I haven't yet copied it across the laptop. Things are still in flux. But anyway, when I was away, sort of with broken computers and busy with my boyfriend and not really caring about politics because I was happy.
I was happy. I knew the world was going to fuck because of Brexit. I didn't want to think about this stuff. But I have a hate base, some of whom follow me on Steam, some of whom add me on Steam because I have the Steam wishlist thing, and, you know, so that people can, you know, see my Steam inventory and, you know, recommend me games to try out for the channel. And so that means right-wingers add me on Steam. And here's the thing, right? When I'm wired in and I am playing Skyrim and I'm listening to podcasts, I can't check Facebook. I ain't checking Facebook, I'm not checking my emails. But Steam will helpfully remind you that Nazi Cheetah has decided to tell you this thing. And genuinely, right, I was playing on this server, and this guy got banned, right? And I was just having a go, like, testing out the anti-cheat. Well, not the anti-cheat, but the chat filter thing. And this guy goes on, and he's like, I know Farshduk, and I'm just like, I don't know, who is he? And then I check out afterwards, and it's like, this is a guy who literally said to me in Steam chat, hi, I'm a National Socialist, I'm a Nazi. And literally, like, the last line before, you know, before he got banned on this group for cheating was, oh, what's that server you're playing on? So yes, Nazi cheaters are friends with me on Steam and follow my stuff. And one of these people sent me a message saying, hey, you should do a video about that coup going on in Turkey. Now, I did not respond to it for 3 reasons. 1, I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on in Turkey. 2, this is a member of my hate base telling me to check something out. The last thing I'm going to do is believe what he thinks it's happening. And 3, I was happy with my boyfriend. Right? Do I really want to descend into this world of misery and pain? Probably fucking not. Also, it wasn't terribly relevant at the time. Because the whole reason that basically, by the time someone gets around to messaging me about it, it's too late. It stopped being news. And I know I don't normally care about whether something's news, but I do if A, it's from someone who I don't trust because they're a Nazi cheater, and B, I'm currently a bit busy being happy with my boyfriend. By the way, kids, since it's the summer, remember to drink lots of squash to keep that hot water in you. Keep that water in you and keep you hydrated, because it is the summer and you could get dehydrated, and that is bad. That causes headaches. So remember to drink a lot. Of course, the problem is my boyfriend is quite fussy with his food. So instead of getting apple and blackcurrant squash, it's just blackcurrant squash. So it's a bit dry. It's a bit funny to say that about squash, but it's a bit dry, you know? It's missing the pep of the apple. Or the pip of the apple. Except that's the cyanide, so maybe don't want the pip of the apple. But yeah, so there was a coup in Turkey. And I wasn't going to do anything about that. But then I saw the Canary, who are... But, I mean, if you think if you think the Guardian newspaper is left-wing, basically, the Canary is so left-wing that, like, the coal miners were reading it when they were having their, you know, strikes against Thatcher, you know. The Canary is the radical left. I mean, they're not quite the radical, we shall get the pitchforks and kill the people, radical left. But they are the true left, you know. They are not the, well, you see, the only way to get into power is to do exactly as the right wing want left. They are the, no. These fuckers are Tories. We get into power because we want to get into power, because we have policies that deserve to get into power. We're not going to elect some fucker who is supposedly electable just because there's someone worse. So the Canary are someone I like. And you can donate to them to keep them going. So kind of there are people who are donating money to me to help me, and like donate money to the Canary as well if you can, because the Canary are awesome. Although I suppose you will be getting links to the Canary through me, and I will be telling you news of what's going on with them anyway. But the Canary did a thing on a coup, on the coup in Turkey, so I was like, okay, I'll have a read of this, and that was yesterday. And then kind of yesterday was the day I, you know, come back up. I'd had the testosterone injection, 2-hour journey to back here, and then basically my boyfriend decided to make fun of my speech impediment, and then had a sulk when I said, could you please not do that? because of his autism and the fact that he literally, if he's not interested in something, he doesn't learn about it. So he knows nothing about biology. And he doesn't, he didn't have the education in what's insulting and bullying like I did. He got ignored, and he thinks that was a bad childhood. Whereas I got a thorough education in the nastier side of human life by having it demonstrated upon me time after time after time. So he didn't know that he was, you know, being insulting to me. So it was a hectic day yesterday, but now everything's okay, now everything's better, and, you know, we can talk again, and now things are good. I've had a chance to read up about the Canary, and I've had a chance to read up about the actual coup. And I think it's time we covered the coup in Turkey. And I know that it is now 10 minutes into the video, which is pretty much the absolute maximum that any person who actually, you know, who regularly comments on my videos, or regularly, you know, subscribes to my videos and clicks dislike, would want as a max. Now we are getting into the meat of the video. Now that I know all the right-wingers who really wanted me to do a video on the coup in Turkey have left their horrible comments that I should die in a fire. Now you'll talk about it. So, Turkey. Why is it important? Because basically, I suppose if we are, let's look at sort of the world as it is now with terrorism as kind of like the world of Westeros with the White Walkers, right? King's Landing doesn't really give a shit what's happening in Winterfell. I mean, they're all Muslim, right? We don't care. King's Landing doesn't care what's happening up in Winterfell. But equally, you want to make sure that things are going pretty well up north, and that the wardens of the Night's Watch are being well paid, because ultimately they're the people keeping the White Walkers at bay. Turkey is situated right slap bang in the centre of the Middle East, or the Near East, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, right by Syria. And if there is going to be peace, if there is going to be resolution, if there is going to be a war, if it's gonna happen right on their fucking doorstep. Okay, so that's why Turkey is important, because Turkey is politically, geopolitically, Turkey is the allies at the borders, right? Turkey are the people who we kind of have fractious relationships with, but we know them sort of, and they're literally guarding the border to hell, right? That's sort of the way to look at it, because Syria has their own problems with Assad and also ISIS, and so Turkey is someone who could maybe join EU, the UN. It's like, you know, they're someone who is lumped into, quote unquote, the good guys. Okay, so we care about them. We care what matters to them, especially because they are right up against ISIS. And so that's why their politics matters. Right? And it feels weird to say that, but you know, I have a very right-wing audience. I have a far-right, alt-right audience who watches my videos, and so this is me saying, here's why you fuckers should give a fuck. So basically, they are right by the enemy. They are keeping them from advancing, essentially. Or at least that's the idea. And yes, it is true that there was a military coup against the president or whatever of Turkey. And this is obviously a bad thing. Military coups are bad things, you know. Considering that there have been coup attempts against Jeremy Corbyn, considering the military of Britain has said it would lead a coup against Corbyn, obviously it is, no one ever wants to say that they are on the side of a coup. Coups are bad, right? Coups are not defendable. You know, a revolution is bad, a violent revolution is bad, but you can, on some occasions, understand it, and like a certain kind of violent revolution can be almost like the dam bursting, you know, it's each individual person can almost have so little to blame because all they did was one thing that, compared to the injustice meted out, was so much better. But a military coup, that's not the dam bursting. That is not the dog. That is not the dog biting back after you treat it like shit, right? That is essentially the weapon deciding that it doesn't like its owner anymore and it's going to kill the owner. A military coup is essentially the antipathy of democracy. You never ever want to be in favour of a military coup unless the people who are being couped against are themselves effectively dictators. The only time that you root for assassination is when it's Julius fucking Caesar. The only time that you think that a military coup is a good idea is when it's Hitler. You don't ever say a military coup is a good idea unless things are already shit unless democracy is already all but dead. In which case, then, well, maybe this time democracy might stand more of a chance. Now, I have said before, and I will say again, I have not ever proclaimed to be some kind of genius. In fact, I have made songs about how often I am wrong and how I am an imbecile, how I know nothing. That is part of the reason I did not want to do a video on this to begin with, as I have said. So don't misunderstand me. I am not making some kind of grand proclamation. So therefore, of course, people are going to say this is some kind of grand proclamation, because saying no, don't do this to the hate base is basically saying, please do this really loudly and say very forcefully that I said for you to do this. But I'm basically trying. I'm trying here. I know what's going to happen, but I'm trying. For me, knowing what little, and it is a tiny little, no, I believe the phrase is artificial stupidity, or just enough rope to hang yourself. From what little I do know, it seems like this is an edge case. This is an edge case. I'm not prepared to call the attempted military coup a good idea, because military coups often aren't, and because in the case of the reason that I think it's an edge case at all, I will go into in more depth, but I think it is arguable that maybe under Erdogan, under President Erdogan, there was more hope of a peaceful resolution, and that obviously you don't want to lay down the precedent that, oh, in this case the presidency is decided by whoever kills the president. You know, like, it's almost in a sense like the fact that Julius Caesar kind of got in power because the people liked him, the people had his backing, you know, like that you could almost go with as a thing, that's what happens, is that if people like the president, he just is president for life, and if the people elect him, and they keep electing and electing and electing and electing him, then he just gets to rule. Of course, this is under first past the post. Of course, this is, you know, with secret police pulling in the background, but, you know, like, you can argue that. The moment that you bring a military coup into it, then that sham of democracy gets cast aside, and it's just a case of, okay, who's got the bigger guns? And then you're suddenly in a technological war for superiority on a country on the border of Syria, when Putin and Donald Trump could potentially be opposite each other on opposite sides of a hot war, when Donald Trump has already said he wouldn't rule out using nukes. So there are reasons that this, if the military coup had been successful, could have set a very dangerous and frightening precedent. But it failed. The military coup, failed. So at this point, me talking about the the merits or otherwise of a military coup is redundant. They don't matter. It's like speculating on what it would have been like had someone been cast as Doctor Who. You don't. There is no way to really tell, right? You just don't know. And I think, for me, it's an edge case. Because I'm not going to talk about the military coup in Turkey. I'm going to talk about the latest coup in Turkey. Which is that this is not the first time I have heard about Erdogan. Believe it or not, the Young Turks, who are predominantly a sort of new media left-wing organisation talking about the shitty things going on in America, they actually talk about stuff going on in Turkey. And so I have heard about Erdogan. Erdogan is a little Caesar. He's a bit of a dickbag. And if you want, all these right-wingers who are saying, I need to suck his ear, Emma Watson, they're fighting free speech and all the Gamersgate and Zoe Quinn, and this is about advocacy and journalism, All of these people who are like, you're Stalin because you're censoring my comments. Like, no. You want to look like the death of freedom? You want to know what the death of freedom of speech is? It's President Erdogan not liking what a German comic has to say and asking Angela Merkel to extradite him to his country to have him arrested because how dare a comedian in Germany make fun of a politician. Could you imagine if the motherfuckers tried to do that in Britain? If David Cameron tried to do that in Britain, half the fucking country would be arrested for making pig fucker jokes. See, that's death of freedom of fucking speech right there. It's not, I can't be a cunt to people online. I can't make death threats against women online. What is this? Censorship. I can't tell you to kill yourself. What is this Stalinist fucking Russia? No. What Stalinist Russia is the fact that if you make a joke about a politician, they'll fucking arrest you and have you dragged out of your fucking country. And that's Turkey. That is President fucking Erdogan. President Erdogan, by the way, elected under first past the post, elected pretty much against the will of the people, running for more terms than he is allowed to sit. The people don't actually like him, from what little I know of, and he seems to basically be a bit of an arsehole who's gotten a sniff of power and decided, you know what, I'm going to cling on to this. He is essentially a populist demagogue that we've all let sit in power because we like him, because he's on the border of Syria and we don't want to fucking rock the boat when there's fucking ISIS there. And we're already dealing with enough wars. So just look after yourself, mate. Except now there's been a military coup, it seems Erdogan has decided to say, well, you know, I've always had this idea about, you know, the owns and, you know, a final solution and you know, what's all this fuss with democracy? Why don't we just be an empire and you know, like, I've got this idea for you know, a thing that destroys planets, and it's called a Death Star, and I was just wondering if we could just murder everyone, you know? I mean, he's not quite that bad. Not quite that bad, you know. He's not quite, and then we'll murder all the Jews. But almost. 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 Now, I realise that to some of my commenters, and then we murder all the Jews, is something that you'd like to happen, because you're Nazis, right? And I realise to some of my commenters who are Trump supporters, and then we'll kill all the Muslims, I realise that's a nice idea. Except, murder isn't nice. Genocide isn't fucking nice. And this guy Erdogan, essentially, he is using the situation, the coup with the attempted coup, as an excuse to say, well, you see, it's these Kurds that are a problem. We need to go kill them all. Well, he's not actually gonna kill them. Oh, I mean, that's all allegedly. I mean, it's not like he locked up a prominent leader of the Kurds who might possibly be able to bring about peace and that his life is in danger or anything. It's not like that, you know, that he's been in talks with Syria and that they have been talking about reducing the strength of the Kurdish populations within Syria and Turkey at all. No, what are you talking about? No, he's done that. Erdogan is worse than Trump. Erdogan is worse than Clinton. Erdogan is worse than ISIS, actually, I think. Because the thing about ISIS, and the thing about Al-Qaeda and all these other sort of terrorist cults, is that they are decentralized. They don't have a plan. They don't have someone to follow. They don't have infrastructure. They don't have power. The wider world doesn't give a shit. They don't have militaries as such. They have individuals that have been brainwashed to follow a certain way. They don't have states. Not really. And I know ISIS is literally called the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, but they don't really have a state, just as they're not really the Islamic State. So, Donald Trump is scary because he could be in power. But Erdogan is scary because he is in power and because he is possibly on the verge of committing genocide against the Kurds. Now, please, do your own fucking research on this. I do not want to be levelling fucking charges like this against anyone without asking you to please do your own research, make your own fucking videos, and let people know the truth. Whatever you think the truth is, because for something this serious, the wisdom of the crowds holds much better hope than one individual's interpretation on little knowledge. But he's scary. He is really, really scary in that he is power hungry. He is in a position of power. He's going against the will of the people, and now he has an excuse to start being forceful. And here's the thing, guys. We need to go back to religion. Okay, essentially, like, I'm an anti-theist, but I'm an anti-theist who believes that the way we achieve the extermination of religion is through peace and tolerance, and that essentially, once people realise they don't have to practice their religion because it's not under threat, they will be able to realise that, hey, science explains shit, and all religion does is tell you shit, and then if you ask for evidence, they go, God said so. But back in the dim and distant days of yore, basically there wasn't science. What there was, however, was a load of people saying, you should do as I say. Why? Because this guy who's really powerful and you'll never ever meet says you should. Why? Because if you don't, bad things will happen. He's told me bad things. So these people who each followed different interpretations of who this guy who would do bad things, they kind of got upset at each other. They had this idea of, well, your idea of what this guy who does bad things isn't the same as our idea of this guy who does bad things is. And this made a lot of people really mad. Except, of course, the guy who did bad things didn't care because he didn't exist. And even if he did exist, he was probably all the same guy anyway. So they got really mad at each other and they started killing each other. And like some of them, like, the Jews and the Christians, like they were okay because, like, Christ was a Jew, who said that being rich was a bad thing. So they sort of liked him, It's like they had their differences, but it's like, well, you're close enough. And, the Muslims and the Christians, they had their differences, but, Christ is in the Quran, so, they can make it work. But some Muslims didn't really like some other kind of Muslims, and it's like this effect called, the red bicycle shed effect, which is that, you can be arguing about, you can ask a selection of people to decide what should happen about a nuclear reactor, and pretty much everybody will agree with what the smartest person who actually knows about nuclear reactors says. But the moment it becomes trivial, everyone has an opinion. So, if someone happens to follow a different, clearly different, but on a branch of the tree as you version of religion, then you can find common ground and say, hey, we are followers here, man. We all worship the one true God. It's okay. It's okay. Like Jews and Christians and Muslims can each look at each other and go, it's okay. We all worship the one true God. It's alright. We've got our differences, but you're okay. But if a Baptist meets a Methodist, there's going to be some glares. There's going to be like, why do you follow something different to me? Because at that point, they're not arguing. They're not trying to argue with, the nuclear physicist about what type of shielding the nuclear reactor should have. At that point, they're arguing what colour the bike sheds beside the nuclear reactor should be. And at that point, they have an opinion. They're not going to argue with a Christian about his religion. But they are going to argue about someone with his own religion. And I realise I specifically used the Christian example as that was what I knew, and then bad metaphor. But the point is that the moment that a religion gets really similar, the moment that you have two Muslims with different ideologies, things can get bad. The moment you have two Christians of different ideologies, then people get bad. You know, it's like, how much of America is Christian and how much of America hates the Jehovah's Witnesses? Because it's okay to believe in Christianity just so long as you believe in our specific branch of Christianity. I don't care what shielding we put around a nuclear reactor, just so long as the colour we paint the bike sheds is my colour. So this has made a lot of people very angry, and they've been killing each other ever since. And some of these people were Sunni Muslims, and some of these people were Shiite Muslims, and some of these people were Kurds. And these people have all, at one time or another, held areas of land. And pretty much you can count a whole lot of problems down to, that was my thing. Why did you take my thing? You know. I mean, even in the modern age, we now have the Sheldon Cooper. That's my spot. What are you doing in my spot? And of course there is the capitalism. What are you doing? That's my money. No, you can't take it away in tax. That's my house. What are you doing? You can't build a thing on it. Hey, that's my free land, man. Well, what are you doing? You know, taking it as your own private property. Isn't that the public land? I mean, it's so many of human civilization. So much of human civilization is just down to, well, isn't that mine? No, it's mine. Well, fuck you then. So the Kurds and the Muslims don't really like each other. And they've been having problems for a long time, to the point where it has made fighting ISIS difficult, because basically, like, I genuinely believe that ISIS, were they in Britain or America, would be squashed. They would be squashed like a bug. Just gone. Because they're so tiny. They're so tiny, so few people. They have so little technology. It's, you know, they have technology that is smuggled in by that is smuggled across admittedly fairly big borders in the Middle East, because, you know, it's fucking Africa. But, you know, they have what technology is smuggled in by people from Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. And they, you know, they have what essentially the technology they can take from the Americans that decide to put ground troops down there. Funnily enough, the ISIS would like it if you continued drone bombing them, because that means that they get to use more propaganda against the Americans, but they would also like it if America would lay ground troops in ISIS, because and Syria, because then they get to steal the stuff that the American troops have, and then they actually get to kill Americans. So ISIS don't really have much. ISIS on their own, I don't think would have lasted long. They wouldn't have been really a threat. It's just that ISIS is one small sect happening in a powder keg. In that you've got Turkey, you've got Assad, you've got the remnants of Saddam Hussein's regime, and you've got the Sunni Muslims, the Shiite Muslims, you've got the Kurds, you've got all these different little variant religions out there. All, you know, you've got Israel and Pakistan, all these little places that are so close to each other, either geographically or culturally or politically, and they just utterly hate each other but have had to get on somehow for so long, and they have just been waiting for an excuse, and up pops ISIS. Up pops ISIS. That mispronunciation was very special. I don't do outro clips, I don't do editing of any sort, but up pops ISIS is up there, because up pops ISIS, and ISIS just goes, all these different factions, fuck you. You know, it's like there was a certain point in the 80s where nuclear Armageddon could genuinely have happened, because you fire one nuke off and it wouldn't even have to do anything. You could literally fire a nuke off into the middle of the ocean with so low a yield that all it does is make like the sea slightly hot for a bit and then it goes away, right? But there was a time when things were so fragile that they would go, nuke has been launched! Everybody nuke everyone, we're all fucked! And so kind of the Middle East, the Near East, has been like that, except every couple of decades, America and Britain and Europe have been going into their countries and blowing the crap out of them. So it's like any time there is some kind of peace, it's back to being fragile again. So up pops ISIS to just go, hey, booty booty booty, and thus nobody can really hit ISIS, because partly they don't want to hit ISIS because, I could be attacking ISIS, or I could be having a pop at my friend here who I don't really like. And partly it's just that it's so hard to target ISIS when you've got to be looking at that, hey, this guy here and this guy here, and it's. School of Movies did, and I realise it's quite weird to bring a left-wing movie review podcast about an alien monster into this, but they were doing a review of The Thing recently, and I love The Thing, and the reason The Thing is terrifying is this kind of Cold War fear of, like, it could be anyone. Right? Except the fear that kind of has kept ISIS going for so long, I genuinely believe, is that it has been occurring in a part of the world where you know who your friends are and you know the danger they could pose if sufficiently motivated, or if they saw that you were sufficiently weakened. So, like, America generally has had a policy whereby they could fight 2 middle-sized wars at a time. They can pretty much be doing something and have enough spare manpower to make sure that if anybody tries something, they can squash them. Not really any other country can. So, if you're the border force, you can't really, dedicate your entire force to squashing ISIS, because, yeah, but what about the Sunnis, and what about the Shiites, and what about the Kurds, and what about whoever fucking else has got a grudge against us, I mean, like, we think politics is complicated here in Britain and in America, but just imagine how fucking difficult it is in somewhere like Turkey, or in somewhere like Syria, or somewhere like that, because you have the threat of the people over the border, the people within your country who happen to follow a different sect of religion, the people within your country but who either are currently in power, who want to be in power, who have been in power but are bitter about it. Or maybe just the populace themselves, if you are any of those other things. So it's a very difficult position, and that's why I think, you know, the analogy to Game of Thrones works very well, because Game of Thrones is all about people who are very aware that they are pieces on a fucking board, and that they have to make sure every fucking move they make is precise, or they will fuck everything up. And people who don't know that don't last long. I'm looking at you, Rob fucking Stark. Oh, I know. I'll break a lasting treaty just so that I can get married and nothing will ever go wrong when we're getting married. Just accept that you can trust no one. Just accept that the world is full of people who will seem really nice and then will want to murder you. Okay, the moment you are at your weakest, the moment that you need your friends and family most, they will fuck you up the arse. And not in a good way. So, that's politics. And that's politics especially if you're in the Middle East or the Near East or whatever, and especially if you are in Turkey right now. So, what do I think about the coup in Turkey? I think the coup in Turkey, the military coup in Turkey, was a borderline case where it might have been justifiable. Maybe. What do I think about the new coup in Turkey by President Erdogan? I think fuck. I think fucking fuck. I think this is worse than Trump. I think this could be a Hitler moment. Because the thing about Hitler was that nobody really saw him coming. You know, like, or at least the people that did see him coming thought he was a good idea. You know, the Daily Mail was saying, "Hey, Trump, we'll..." Freudian slip there. Have the Daily Mail been saying, "Hey, Trump"? The Daily Mail had been saying at the time, "Hey, Hitler's a good guy. We like him." You know, the Queen, at a young age, with her Queen Mother, were all in favour of Nazi Germany. Hey, here's hoping that, you know, Germany has a good time. And then they started kicking in the doors of other countries. And then they started killing people. Now, Erdogan has been slowly building power against the will of the Turkish people, and now he has a perfect excuse to say, "I need to clamp down on this." And I think that's a very foolish thing. I think that's a very fucking foolish thing to do. Because, you see, America isn't motivated by religion, by creed, by colour. America is manipulated by money. America runs on money. And the American industrial complex makes a lot of money, particularly also in terms of welfare programs. Like, they keep people getting money for welfare programs by keeping the government spending money on war. But in order to keep spending money on war, you need to keep having wars to fight. So, who do you fight when ISIS is gone? I've been thinking that that they've been looking at, Saudi Arabia. But it seems Turkey, under President Erdogan, is raising its hand up and saying, "I'll volunteer." Now they have one slim hope, which is that the American populace are not the American political system. The American populace do not actually like the fact that their brave men and women keep going off to war. And in fact, I suppose I should say they're brave people across the grand spectrums of time in the multiverse, because of course, actually a lot of people who come back from war end up being, trans or somewhere on the grand spectrums of time in the multiverse, because it turns out once you've been to war, you no longer fucking give a shit. You're just like, this is who I am, fuck you. So, yeah, they don't like seeing their brave people across the grand spectrums of time in the multiverse getting blown to shit. The American people do not want to keep dying for other countries. Which is quite right too, and to be honest, as a left-wing guy, I'd kind of like it if they'd stop bombing other countries and causing so much collateral damage as well. So, there is demand for change. And at the same time, Hillary Clinton is being pressured by Bernie Sanders to withdraw, to lesser the forces invading other countries. And Donald Trump does not give a fuck. It may be, in fact, that Donald Trump is scary not because he is Hitler 2.0, but because he is Harold Wilson 2.0. And I really hope I'm remembering the right British Prime Minister here, and that Harold Wilson is not, in fact, the man who stood against Thatcher. But I'm going to go with it anyway, because, hey, if the right-wingers want to take the piss out of me for that, they can have that one. But basically, like, he won't be remembered as Hitler. He could be remembered as the guy who decided to let Hitler invade the world, who decided that he wouldn't intervene to stop Hitler. Because Erdogan is Hitler. And it might be that Erdogan stops at his own country, or that he realises that, hey, if you're so close to ISIS, you don't want to be encouraging America to have some collateral damage that just so happens to hit you right in your prime military headquarters, just in case you happen to have weapons of mass destruction there. You don't want to anger the dragon, right? But what if the dragon doesn't wake? Because the dragon is being led by Donald Trump, and actually the dragon is a bit too interested in its gold right now. What happens then? What happens if Erdogan decides that actually he's not scared of America? What happens if Erdogan decides that he's not going to stop at the Kurds? If he's not going to stop at the Sunnis or the Shiites? What if he decides that he's going to mop up Syria after Assad and Britain and the EU and America have had their way with Syria? What happens if Erdogan decides that he's not going to stop? What happens if America decides they won't stop him? Because most of Europe is in debt. Most of Europe is suffering extreme austerity. We can't afford war. Certainly, we can't afford a world war. We can't afford to fight Hitler. So, this is a scary, scary time, and I really, really hope that I am wrong. Really, really hope that I am wrong. Because it would be nice to not think that we have a terrifying Hitler 2.0 that could start invading countries, and certainly is planning genocide. Thank you to all my Patreons at patreon.com for helping to make videos like this possible. If you wish to leave a like or dislike to rate this video for my analytics, that would be much appreciated. Comments are always welcome, though do be aware that they will be moderated before being published, so please be civil. If you liked this video, please consider adding it to your favourites, sharing it to your friends, or subscribing. If you wish to help me out or my channels, please consider whitelisting my videos in your adblock software, subscribing for monthly donations through Patreon, or giving a small one-off donation. Alternatively, I have a Steam wishlist for games I would consider let's playing or streaming, so if you would like to see me broken before the Dark Souls altar, or just happen to have gotten a duplicate of a game in a humble bundle, then you know what to do. I also have an official Facebook fan page, Twitter account, Tumblr, Reddit and blog, so you can stay up to date with all of my videos, blog articles and the things I care about. Links are in the video description. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I think all that now needs to be said is ban all guns, institute universal basic income now, and ensure government is elected by proportional representation. Thank you. Greetings, various people across the grand spectrums of time in the multiverse. My name is Alexander Gordon Johans. Now, I look like shit right now. And I feel like shit right now. And this is going to be short by my standards. Oh, I want to do a tangent here, but no, this has got to be said. This has got to be done. Basically, things with my boyfriend did not work out. And the thing is that because kind of my video is sort of my videos are sort of vloggy things, and because there is a noticeable change of background, like people would have asked and they would be right to ask, and the thing is that I am someone who A is generally compulsively honest, and B tends to feel worse when I have to try and keep something secret. So the situation here, specifically, I can't talk about it really because pretty much one of the last things that my boyfriend said to me was, please don't please don't say anything personal or private on the video. So I'm not going to tell you anything about apart from the fact that he's a guy, right? I'm just going to tell you basically about the things that made me choose what I ended up choosing to do. Okay, so and also I know that a lot of my friends and stuff watch my videos because it's just a way to keep in touch with my stuff. Like, you can watch my Facebook, but the important stuff is on the videos, and believe it or not, one hour a day is maybe a lot easier than wading through, 1,000 memes about how awesome Jeremy Corbyn is and how bloody horrible the Tories are. So that's kind of why I need to talk about this, and also compulsiveness and what have you. So, yeah, stuff. The things and stuff of the world, and things and stuff. My boyfriend is autistic, so am I, and like I've got big problems, right? I have got basically Kalman syndrome, which means that I have fucked up genetics. I can't smell. My body, certain parts are undersized, certain parts are bigger than they should be. And I probably can't have children, not without great difficulty, and even then there's an ethical dilemma if I could. And I am dependent upon injections every 3 months or so. And I also now I'm on pills that I need to take to avoid dying twice a day, and also now it turns out I might have low growth hormone, which could be fucking up my brain and my ability to speak in other ways. So like, I've got a lot of stuff wrong with me myself, so it's like I don't have a problem with the fact that this guy has autism, because of course I don't, and in general the fact that he has autism isn't a problem. It causes a lot of problems for him, and it makes him feel really, really shit. But as far as the relationship went, not a problem. I mean, like, he couldn't go out by himself. He is hyperlogical. He can't understand anything that... I mean, the thing is, he only learns about stuff he's interested in. And he only understands stuff that he's learned. And anything that he doesn't understand, he's terrified of. So, basically, all he did at school was learn about science and computers. So that is all he learns about, that is all he knows about, and that is all he is interested in. And anything that is not science and computers terrifies the ever-living fuck out of him. So it's kind of difficult at times, like, we can have conversations about politics, but to a certain extent, we have to go to the Star Wars level of, well, you see, these are the bad guys with the Force lightning who go, ultimate power! And these are the people who are all about overthrowing the evil people and are all about making sure that people get to not be shat on. Unless that's your thing and you like to be shat on. But like, you kind of have to abstract it down to, these people kill the poor, these people want to help the poor, because he just can't understand nuance. He can't understand anyone whose opinion is not his own. But where this gets into a problem is when it enters into how it affects me. Because obviously this guy is because of the way that he thinks, he's very hyperlogical. And he's someone who, I mean, essentially, for me, in general, most of the time, I'm like, why is this worse? You know, I'm looking for the negative. He is looking for the positive. Right? And he is very fucking binary. Which, as you may have noticed, I'm not generally a fan of the binary approach. He is either it is perfect and it is better, or it is shit and I am never doing it. And so this is why he basically just drinks milk and eats bread. And he eats a very specific kind of bread. Right? He can't just have like Hovis or King's Milk. He has to have people make up a very specific kind of bread in a very specific kind of bread machine, and he has to have it cooked the same way. And I've tried the toast. It's alright. It's alright, but to be honest, for me, convenience outweighs the taste. And for him, you know, he's got the very Ubuntu mentality, which is that kind of, well, it's a very Linux mentality, which is that I will do the thing that I want, even if it takes me 10 times as long as it takes someone else to do basically the same thing, but not quite to the same standard as I want it. You know, that's his sort of approach, is that, like, he can't see that things are, you know, like cost, time, you know, is it worth it? He can't do cost-benefit analysis in that sort of way. He just goes, is it better? Yes, then I shall get it. Is it not better? Then I shall not bother. Could it be bad? Then why would I try? And so, like, I've been trying to help this guy. Trying to do things to help him. I mean, part of the reason I went down was obviously because I care about him, and I think he's awesome and lovely and adorable, and wanted to spend time with him. But a lot of it was basically down to the fact that he needed me to go down there, because his approach is basically that I mean, it's almost sociopathic the way he views people, in that because he has such problems talking to people, he can only talk to them if there is a point and a reason. So the only reason that he was talking to me was because he wanted me to help him essentially with these fetishes that make him feel better most of the time. Except because he's got depression, because of a lot of shit going on at the moment in his life, that isn't working. So essentially, I was feeling a bit superfluous, but I was trying to help him in a lot of ways. And the thing is, basically, when I was with him, I would do basically everything that he wanted. You know, like, I mean, if he wanted to go on eBay, if he wanted to build computers, if he wanted to do anything, we'd do it. And I'd just sit there and watch and help him and massage him, and I was okay with that. I like that. I like that. But and part of the reason that I did that is because, you know, on the few occasions that I'd be like, well, you know what, I'm not showing, I don't necessarily have as much interest in this as you do, he would have a massive sulk, and he would react like I had personally offended him, and like all he ever does fucks things up, and it's just like, dude, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just not necessarily I mean, and he I mean, if you think I'm rambling, that's him all the time. He can't stop himself. He can't think. He can't say, okay, well, we'll do this later. Okay, we'll do... No, we must do this now! I like this now. We do this now. If you don't want to do this now, I feel crap. And of course, I don't want him to feel crap, so we do this now. Whatever the fuck it is, even if it's like, hey, we're in the middle of a video and we're doing good things. No, I want to do this now. Alright, so we're now spending hours looking at memes that you find funny and I don't. And this got even further, like, because he has trouble talking to people, he basically, whenever you meet him, in person, he will always be on the computer. He will always be on the phone. He will be in the middle of a serious conversation and he'll go, look at this, look at this, look at this. And it's just like, yes, fine, we were talking, and yet at the same time, I actually had to work in a separate room because he didn't like the fact that I was busy doing other things. And so all of this was kind of a building crest of a wave of just all these little things on their own aren't that bad. But they're sort of building up, and then basically what happened last night was that we had fun in the bedroom and it was a good time, but basically it was me doing things to him, for him, and then afterwards I wanted to finish myself off and to masturbate to finish off the energy, and he was just like, no, I want to go on eBay, please leave. And it's like, that's fine once. That's fine once, twice. That's not fine if it happens every single time. And the way he explained it, it was worse. Because for him, the idea of leaving his computer on for just the idea of turning his computer back on downstairs and after we'd had our fun so I could finish myself off, well that's gonna kill his computer. I mean, over a number of years and decades, it's gonna be a tiny little bit of extra wear and tear, but it's gonna kill his computer. Well, okay, then we'll just, in the future, leave the computer on. Well, no, but then that's breaking from my routine. Okay, well, and so he's just like, no, but I must have it my way all the time. I must do it all the time. I've got to do it all my way all the time. And it's just, he's a selfish prick. He's a fucking selfish prick. And that's okay. That I could live with. I've lived with worse. But the reason I am here now is that because he was a selfish prick, I happened to raise my voice a little. Now, you've seen me make videos. You haven't seen me in the middle of an argument. But basically, when I'm arguing with my parents, if that's about a 10, if when I'm arguing with my parents, that level is about a 10. That's a standard argument with my parents, you know. That's a, hey, nothing really is going to change, but we just need to go harangue at each other for a bit, right? If that's a 10, what this was in terms of volume and intensity and ferocity was a 2. It was a 2. It was barely even warming up. It was just a, hey, you know what you could do with being less selfish, sort of thing. And then I went downstairs to get a glass, to kind of, knowing that he'd basically saying, okay, I'll leave you to do your eBay and your stuff now. And so I could calm down, and then I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I love the guy, I still care for the guy. And when I went back to the room, all my duvets, all my belongings, they had just been thrown outside the room into the hallway. And then when I entered the room, he was hiding under the duvet, and he was screaming and leaping away from me as if I was going to hit him. That was a look of fear that I know well because I've made it against my father many times. And that is not a look of fear. That look is not something I ever want to see on the face of anyone, particularly not my boyfriend, particularly not someone I am in a relationship with. I never want to make someone I care about be so very fucking scared of me. And I mean, eventually we managed to, talk about things, and eventually, like, we're still going to be friends online, and maybe we can sort of be friends with benefits, and I can still help him with this fetish stuff that he needs, essentially a romantic partner in order to help with, because as part of his autism, he needs this stuff to be dealt with. But, of course, his carers and his mother sure as shit can't help him, and his friends don't want to help him. So, basically, right, that maybe we can still do that, but basically a relationship wouldn't work because I am someone who is a very passionate individual. My voice gets loud. Right? I mean, I can put it on deliberately, but there are times, a lot of times, when I don't notice I'm doing it. When my voice just goes, okay, I'm talking about something I don't care about. It's like, click into gear. Right? And so the fact that this guy is reacting in utter terror from a level 2, and my average is a level 10, right? I did not want to risk it. And I think neither of us did. And his approach was just, leave or never ever do that again. And it's like, I can't guarantee that I'll never do that again, because my average intensity of an argument is so much worse than that. And it's again, it wasn't that I was being abusive, like, it's just that I get to a certain volume, and I get to a certain, I mean, part of the issue is also, like, the only time he has been learning words has been from people, playing on these video games that he frequents. So he has a very limited vocabulary, right? He's got a very strong vocabulary in terms of things related to science and related to technology and related to bombs and explosions, right? But he doesn't have a good sense of vocabulary when it comes to casual conversation. And so, for me, right, I will never hit someone. I will never physically hurt someone. But yeah, I can savage them with words. And so, like, I mean, that wasn't what I was doing. All I was trying to say was, hey, you're kind of selfish here. You kind of need to think about it. And he's just never do that again, never do that again. And it's just not going to work. It is just not going to fucking work. And essentially, the reason that I am, the moment that happened, we both realized, okay, that's it. This is the relationship basically is over. Because for me, I am, I consider myself a hyper-moralist, right? well, not hyper-moralist, I consider myself a standard moralist, but I recognise that I am seen as a very hyper-moral person. And for me, I am constantly worried about crossing over that Nietzschean line. You know, I am very aware that right now I am someone who fights monsters online, and that I have to be very aware that I am staring into the abyss, and the abyss is staring right back into me, and I am fighting monsters, and I have to be careful lest I become one. So I am very, very aware of the possibilities of how things could go wrong at the moment, right? And so for me, you know what, I'll talk about that. So for me, I just couldn't be in a relationship with someone who made me feel like a monster. And I would not want to continue to put this guy in a situation where he felt so bad, basically. And you know, it might just be that this is almost an average day for him. It might just be that this almost happens so regularly and casually because he is so very autistic and he is so very sensitive. But either way, I can't do that. I can't do that to someone. I can't do that to myself. Obviously, right, this guy made me feel so much better about myself. I've said a lot of problems about him today, but genuinely, I think he's the sweetest, the cutest, the kindest, the most adorable, and he's a genius. He's an absolute fucking genius. And he's super fucking cool. I mean, he's also vengeful, which is why kind of I wanted to make sure that once we decided it was over, I was like, okay, get me the fuck out of here, because, you know, this is the kind of guy who months after a relationship has ended said, yeah, I'd like to turn up to my ex's house and just blow it all up so that he's just standing there over his house in ruins. This is a guy who deliberately left his ex's mail that arrived to his house out to get rained on, and when there was no rain because it was a really nice summer, he went out, got water from the tap and made sure it was properly fucking drenched. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that my stuff was pretty fucking out of there pretty damn quick. So it's like, I'm not afraid of what he could do to me because he wouldn't lift a finger to hurt me, and frankly, if he did, I'm the guy who grew up in Woking High School getting beaten up for a living. Well, getting beaten up every day. He's the guy who spent his time in a special school where he got ignored. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a very physically strong guy because he does a lot of work with computers, and because essentially he thinks it's a fun thing to lob computers into the air so they smash on the ground and break. But at the same time, it's about knowledge, it's about experience, and he does not have knowledge and experience. You know, and his knowledge and experience goes to, well, we'll use the most optimal thing, and we'll have a missiles flying down a chimney to blow people up. And it's like, sometimes you don't have that, you know. We will be talking about Roman history, and he's just like, well, why did they use an anti-tank missile? Because it's fucking Roman history. Well, why didn't they admit it at the EMP surge? Because it's fucking Roman history. What the fuck is an EMP surge gonna do? This is the thing. He knows. I mean, I suppose it's like he's the Sherlock of computers, in the sense that he can solve any problem with computers except for Windows 10. He has been ranting so much about Windows 10. But anything else, anything he's not interested in, fuck it. Obviously, for me, I'm a jack of all trades. My point and purpose is to review shit and to now make videos and to do writing, and he's just all or nothing. I love him, he's wonderful and adorable, but he's got problems, the relationship had problems, and now it's basically over, and I feel like shit. So, basically what's going to happen now is that I am going to spend some time catching up on podcasts, catching up on films, catching up on YouTube videos that I've missed, and I am going to basically sort of hibernate for a bit as I try to recover. There will be reviews coming though, because thanks to him, I now have access to a whole lot of films that I did not have access to before. And like my laptop has now got an extra 2 gig of RAM. It's fixed to Windows 7. My desktop has got an SSD and it's got a graphics card. So things are different and they are going to be better in the sort of the medium term. So it's okay. And don't worry about the money side of things, because my parents are back supporting me, and they also... We're going to try this universe credit thing, and they now understand, essentially, that it's not as simple as... that they can't just say, you're 24 now, fuck you. That they now understand that kind of, if I can't do it, I can't do it, but we're going to try and work through the forms and try and get the money, because we might as well. And if it doesn't work, they said that they're still willing to support me, so I'm going to be okay in that regard. But please, if you want to donate money to me on Patreon, please please go ahead. Patreon.com/FARSHNUKE. And that way I will continue to make videos like this, and yeah. And at some point I may do genuinely, I may follow through on my threat and do a 5-hour long video. My friend has, my boyfriend, my ex, I suppose I should say now, had suggested that what I actually do is I just make like a 2-minute clip and then loop it. No. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a proper 5-hour long video. I know that no one will actually watch all the way through that 5 hours, but I want to do it. I mean, I've done 5-hour long audiobook adaptation readings, but yeah. This has been a trying few weeks, and in a way, I'm kind of glad it's over, in the sense that I've got a lot of work to do. My videos are needed, and I need to start using these computers that I've spent money upgrading and making better. And I've got a lot of stuff that I want to do. I've got a lot of reviews that I want to do. And I want to write more. And also, I think, I want to do an audiobook of Fuzzy Logic. It might not be that I can actually host it on YouTube. It might be that what I end up doing is finding somewhere that essentially you could download the audio files and the video files and the audio files, and you essentially could... The link to it, there'll be an advert for it on the YouTube channel, and there'd be an advert for it on the blog, so I'd get the advertising revenue for it that way, and then maybe there'd be some sort of optional donation thing. I don't know, this is spitballing, but I think
I think Fuzzy Logic, because it's the last great one that I did, and because I suppose it's the one that's not been tainted by the, bullshit controversies, I think that one is one that deserves an audiobook treatment. In many ways, I actually think that it's more controversial in terms of pure content than, Laura Queen of the Earth or the Contraboxo Survivor, in that those things are very particularly set up in these very particular worlds. They are very clearly defined as, this is an alternative universe where X and Y has happened. Whereas Fuzzy Logic has alternative universe stuff. There is a lot of important mythology stuff in there for the green nothingness. But at the same time, in terms of its actual setting, it's probably the hardest sci-fi that I've ever done. It's probably the one that most touches on real-world issues and themes. And also, it is the one where I tried to be consistent about use of different gender pronouns for an artificial intelligence system. And so, obviously, that's going to ignite some fires if people actually give a shit. But hopefully, because it's an audiobook, people can't just go along and go, oh, I'll do a search for things I'm worried about. But since it's not the standard, third person gender pronouns either, then, even if somehow we do get speech text recognition software in the future that can allow you to search it, even then it should be better in that regard, I suppose. But I mean, it's going to take me a long time to do this stuff if I do this stuff. But basically, this is like, normal business will be resumed after a bit more of a break. I suppose you can consider this whole period of, like, from the laptops being broken to being with my boyfriend and now not being with him as kind of, the summer break for the Alex Johans video series, and that the video still went up, but there was a lot of change and they weren't necessarily about stuff. But now things will be back more or less to the way they should be. And yeah, I just need to kind of have a fucking break and feel human again, and catch up on SF Debris, and catch up on Tom Scott's videos, and catch up on Seaster's videos, and Etho's videos, and Vex's videos, and many a Trunid videos. Like, there are all these awesome videos that I've not been watching because I've been with someone who's really awesome and also quite frustrating. So, whoever comes after me, whoever is the boyfriend to come after me for this guy, I obviously, if I've done my job right, you won't be able to know who I'm talking about. But if you ever do, if you're ever with him and you're watching my videos because my boyfriend decided to do for me what he decided to do for you, what he did for me, which was basically to go on and on and on about the last boyfriend that he had. If that happens, and as a result, you are now watching through my videos, I have to say, first of all, sorry. Sorry for the fact that it's going to be stressful. And I also have to say, work at it. If you can control your temper, if you can do everything that he asks, it is so worth it. Because whilst he is selfish, whilst he is incredibly oversensitive, he is also
incredibly sweet, incredibly kind, and incredibly adorable. And being with him has taught me a lot about myself, and it's taught me a lot about how I shouldn't fear myself, in the sense that obviously I had a lot of problems with myself caused. I've explained a lot of this certainly in other videos and a bit today, and being with this guy has meant that I have seen that actually these things I worry about aren't really that big a deal. And frankly, anyone who thinks they are that big a deal doesn't deserve to be my friend anyway. And because, you know, I am someone who does try to be hyper-moralist, who does try to be a good guy, basically. And if my friends or people I care about can't see that, and they just see one passion that they don't like, and they decide to render me a monster and pathetic, then I guess I don't need them. Yeah, anyway, I guess I'm gonna end this video off here. Things have been strange, but now I suppose they will at least return to a kind of normality after I've had some time to recover. See you later, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to all my Patreons at patreon.com for helping to make videos like this possible. If you wish to leave a like or dislike to rate this video for my analytics, that would be much appreciated. Comments are always welcome, though do be aware that they will be moderated before being published, so please be civil. If you liked this video, please consider adding it to your favourites, sharing it to your friends, or subscribing. If you wish to help me out or my channels, please consider whitelisting my videos in your adblock software, subscribing for monthly donations through Patreon, or giving a small one-off donation. Alternatively, I have a Steam wishlist for games I would consider let's playing or streaming, so if you would like to see me broken before the Dark Souls altar, or just happen to have gotten a duplicate of a game in a humble bundle, then you know what to do. I also have an official Facebook fan page, Twitter account, Tumblr, Reddit and blog, so you can stay up to date with all of my videos, blog articles and the things I care about. Links are in the video description. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I think all that now needs to be said is ban all guns, institute universal basic income now, and ensure government is elected by proportional representation. Thank you.